and welcome to Powered by Intuition. This is a weekly podcast where I kind of feel out what's happening within the world and distill it down to wisdom that is ubiquitous. Wisdom that you can use at any point in time. Wisdom and information that you can use wherever you're at, whenever you're viewing this. I put out the intention that this video will find you when you need it, if you are not watching it live right now while I'm recording. And I will be talking about current events, but just know the information you can always use, no matter the circumstance that you're dealing with. It will come to you at the right time that you need this information. With that said, today is more about buzzwords and how they're being a buzzkill and how it's ruining a lot of movements with good intentions, and good intentions are, the thing that paves the road to hell. And it just kind of feels like that when people create these buzzwords and it's like, we didn't learn the first time that maybe we should choose our words wisely. Because words are the hallmark, are the traits of communication. For example, when I speak, when I share, I will use multiple different ways of describing a concept, because when you translate something like, let's say, biblical text, there are multiple ways to say love, and we bring it down to just one tiny little 4-letter word in the English language. So if you don't know the nuances or the context within the divergence of the words, you're not going to understand it. So when I say things, like I had a video where I mentioned microaggressions, and apparently some people found that microaggressive and they were very triggered by the word, which was amusing because I explained that there are 3 different terms to explain what a microaggression is. And it's more of a kind of newer term, but it's the same thing as passive aggressive. And it's the same thing as like being belligerent or very subversive. These are different ways of describing the same word, the same concept, the same thing. And it's like they latched on this one word that triggered them, but didn't understand the context or the meaning of that one word, because it's become such a buzzword. And in the negative connotation of buzzwords, like they've been programmed to be instantly triggered, even though it's not a derogatory term. It's a alternate word. It's a synonym for passive aggressive for the most part. And that's been the curious thing. There's been like a amping up or ramping up of the twisting, manipulation, and ultimately like lessening the meaning or intentions or ability to communicate with words. And now that I'm kind of opening up and unpacking this more, I'm like, oh, Tower of Babel. Because the world is kind of like joining together, and it seems like there is this phenomenon where when we get too close, when we get to this threshold of this exponential growth in our existence, or the potential for this exponential connectivity, when we all speak the same language and we all can move together in a very cohesive fashion, it's like there's these divergences that's programmed within our psyche that kind of tears it all down. And that's what I'm seeing happen with our speaking, with our communication right now. And it's been funny because there's this whole campaign of cancel, Christmas is canceled. And I'm like, wow, that's very buzzwordy, very buzzwordy. And it doesn't mean that, don't celebrate Christmas. It just means basically boycotting big brands and spending your money wisely, or spending less money, or spending more quality time with family and focusing on that. But saying cancel Christmas doesn't say that. It doesn't convey the concept at all. Does it? No. It's like defund the police, which was like, they were saying, oh, it's not about defunding. I'm like, why are you using these buzzwords if it's not about that? Why confuse people? Why make it seem something that it's not? Because it sounds good? It doesn't sound good at all. It doesn't sound right if you're not communicating effectively. And this is something that not only leads to, I mean, it is a narcissistic tendency, that confusion, that manipulation where it's like, even if you say the sky is blue, they will fault you or find something wrong with that statement because it came from your mouth, and they are working to control you. And the only way that they can tell those traits of control is by your ability to repeat or latch on to that. And that is interesting, right? So when we look at these phenomenon, if you are employing the buzzwords and not being clear about what you mean, and the buzzwords are not clear about the intention of what is happening, it sabotages the entire thing. Like, it just tears it down. It's like, now you have nothing. Like, let's say the word woke, right? It's become completely meaningless, even though its meaning is to be, well, in its very core of the word woke, part of awaken or awake, to be aware and to be more on current on social issues, social justice, and being aware of these situations and caring about them. So when a person says that they're anti-woke, and I've gone after tech bros, like some of the tech bros, on saying that term, and I'm like, you know, that you're just saying you're asleep. You're saying you're a sleeper. If you're saying you're anti-woke, that means you're not awake and you're asleep, right? So I was like, you need to be clear about what it is you're talking about, because anti-woke just tells me you're not aware of yourself or the situation that you're really trying to voice a concern over. And there are valid concerns behind it. There just isn't valid communication when it's summed up to this tiny, ineffective statement that is absolutely meaningless in the context that they're trying to use it. And so that's like what really hinders us with these buzzy buzzwords. It's sabotage at the end of the day. It's not an effective way of communication. So when we communicate, we get to be clear about what we mean. And so this whole cancel Christmas movement, as you know, has been frustrating. I'm like, no, people are not going to cancel Christmas. This is a family holiday. Be clear, which people have been clear. Like, they've been like, oh, you need to do this, do this, do this. Or don't do this. Don't shop at the box stores. Don't shop at the, major conglomerates that are actively working against people's better interests. Those sorts of things. But it's like, it could be summed up better. It could be summed up in a different way. It could be like, boycott Black Friday or something else. Buzzwords that encapsulate the actual truth of the matter. But the other part that has me flummoxed is the fact that they're not supporting people on options of what to do. It's been, don't do. So that kind of leaves people going, well, I can't do this and I can't do that. And, when you are fasting, you don't want to focus on what you can't do, because you're going to lament that. That's going to bother you. That's going to be hindering you the entire fast. And that's not what a fast is about. Fast is about clearing your body, your mind, and getting yourself regulated in a better way. And so if you're thinking about food, or, well, I can't have this sort of food while you're fasting, that's all you're going to think about. And it's going to make the fast much harder. So when it comes to this whole idea of cancel Christmas, it's like, how about support your community? How about be generous and, support those who are in need? How about um, supporting local and small businesses? How about supporting that small handmade shop on Etsy, like the actual handmade shop? How about creating gifts? How about creating new rituals for the holiday season with your family that can carry on as a legacy? And these are things that are just not thought about. That's not being brought up. That's not evocative of what a person can do and what a person can do better and carry on that in their lives. And that lacking from the paradigm, that and the effective communication lacking, is sabotage at the end of the day. Not only that, it's not supportive at all. It's actually kind of a mind game that only leads people to not make the best decisions. And that's part of the whole, like, that narcissistic paradigm where it sows confusion. Oh, well, you're using this phrase, but it means something different than that. And now you're expected to, now you know what you can't do, but you don't really know what you can do. So where does that leave you? Oftentimes that leaves a person to be powerless and not make the best decisions, and then rely on, a leader to show up and save them from their choices, because now they have a hard time knowing which way's up, which way's down. And been there, done that, which is why I'm kind of like, this isn't a good thing. I want to address it. I want to speak up about this because it's become more popular in our culture. And also, bringing up these situations when you're naming an organization, like, really take the time to be invested in that and do the research around it, because the BLM was first established as the Bureau of Land Management. So, which, by the way, you might want to keep an eye on that, because they were definitely trying to sell off our public lands, which sucks. Hi, Alex. Thank you for joining. I'm kind of like just frustrated about buzzwords that are just screwing with people's mind, because it doesn't mean what they want it to mean, and it's messed up. So that's kind of what I'm encapsulating right now, and giving people ideas of how to support others in the community. Like Alex hopped on the Clock app, and she sells items out here in Los Angeles. So black seed oil, meditation kits, these sorts of things. And that's where you want to take your money, into the community, into people that matter, into people that have families that they're supporting. You want to sow that directly into your community and know that that money is going to a space that is more necessary than all these little hands taking a piece of the pot, and, a major CEO that's barely doing anything. They're, getting $1 trillion package for messing around. And, that's the way to stop it, is to focus on your community, to be closer to those around you, and to maybe indulge in hand making things together. And that's fun. That's a new way of creating these rituals for holidays. Is like sitting around the table, crafting, doing a puzzle instead of turning on the TV and being marketed and beamed all this other information that distracts and detracts from that quality time where this is what holidays are about. It's about that time to spend with family, to spend with friends, to be together and to support each other in your community. But it seems we've lost our way from that. And now is the time to bring it back. Now is the time to come back to the core of community, because that's kind of been lost along the way. It was very fascinating speaking with an older Hollywood producer who apparently had Spielberg hanging out at his place in the early days of Spielberg moving out to LA or to this area. And he was just saying of how his father was a doctor and he had his office, which was like another house just nearby, just up the street, and he would make house calls and all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, that would be cool to have that back, where doctors just come to you when you're sick, or, you know, they have their own office. But that's not like super reliant on a big company like Kaiser or insurance. You know, things were affordable before insurance companies kind of came in and, you know, taken a lot out of it, which, by the way, there is some really suspicious stuff happening with insurance companies, and they can help because they are important members. Yeah, exactly. And they can help because they are important members of the community. Exactly. But the insurance companies are kind of making some scuzzy movements post fire out here in LA. And it's getting interesting. Knowing some of the insights of how insurance companies have kind of been operating, not in the best of ways, not in their own interests and not in the interests of the people that they are supposed to be supporting. And it's kind of become a strange phenomenon and paradigm. I'm not going to dive into that tonight, but just pay attention to what's going on out there. Pay attention to these buzzy buzzwords that don't mean what the intention behind the buzzy buzzwords mean, and don't fall for them. Bring in that critical thinking. Like, begin to question, well, what is this? Why are you saying to cancel Christmas when Christmas is a very beloved holiday? Not only for, you know, churchgoers, but for kids. Like, you're going to take that away from kids? And no, that's not what the person is intending by saying cancel Christmas, which is so frustrating. So it's like, you have to give people those options, that understanding, and term things appropriately according to the intention. And I hope what I shared has helped, because there are buzzwords that are very counter and really trying to trigger people just for the attention. And it's really sad and pathetic, and it sucks. And it's very frustrating because it does create hostility. It does create antagonism for the people that have created it and are using the non-appropriate buzzwords for what they're doing. So we get to stop and think about these things and think about what we're doing and what we're causing and creating, and work to create betterment in the world rather than sensationalization in a negative way. So I hope that helps. Shop small, support small business, hand make items, have fun. Yeah, chaos pays in times of fear and uncertainty. Unfortunately, it does, which is very shitty. So that's why we get to bring in critical thinking and betterment and just start ignoring and swiping by. Like, it's so easy to swipe, but it's hard to break free from that paradigm and that mechanism when get crafted. Yes. Let's throw down some vision boards, Alex. Throw down some vision boards. And but when you're in that trauma paradigm, it's really hard to regain your power and control from that. So, look for those avenues of opening. Well, how can I best leverage this? How can I best use this? Great. I make items. A makes items. Like, great. Let's put ourselves out there as small businesses that people can support. Right? So that's the opportunity in the mist. And, I really wish that the people kind of spearheading this would have given credible options instead of detractions. Instead of what people can't do, give them the open opportunity to be like, yeah, let's support small businesses. Let's support making items. Let's support this and that, going to thrift stores, finding unique items, creating something amazing. But they didn't, which is kind of like, it's frustrating. Hey, Ivan. Oh my God. Alex is on too. Yay. The old fan, the Hollywood fam is here. So, is Alex still on? Alex, are you still on? Say hi to Ivan. Alex from Hollywood, the Hollywood place. So it's very serendipitous when people reconnect. I know it was a while ago, but yeah. So, yay! But yeah, so that's that. I'm gonna end the live stream on the tube, and I'm gonna focus over here on the clock app and finally have my meal. But let me know if that served and supported you on making better decisions, on bringing clarity to the things that you want to cause and create, and the intentionality behind your words as well. I hope you have a good one. Love you all, and have a good night. I'll be over here on the clock app. So hopefully I will see you over there. Bye.